Hello organic lovers, this is Oliver from Neon. Today we are going to talk about one special thing, and it is Japanese sweets. So in this series, in the first one here, I have a special guest with me, and this is the mochi. The mochi is actually a Japanese sweet which is a well known and a long known sweet which has been established already long time ago in Japan. And now I want to go a little bit into what is a mochi and when do people eat it, and then I will try the mochi together with a tea which I brought with me. And today we are going to taste the karigane, the kukicha of Mr. Sada, and we gonna have a mochi with this. So what is actually a mochi? So a mochi is actually a rice sweet which is made out of mochi gome. Mochi gome is a rice paste or a rice pounded sticky rice, so it becomes kind of a dough which is then put around something sweet. Often it is the azuki bean, which is kind of a sweet black bean, very well known, and you can really buy this everywhere in Japan. But originally the technique of the sticky rice or the pounded sticky rice is something which came from China into Japan and then was more or less established around 300 before Christ, where the first mochis appeared, but then it was exclusively dedicated to the emperor. With over the time, this was more and more used and found then, or the mochi found its way into holy celebration or a celebration about religion or religious celebrations, and then found its way into the aristocratic class, and over the aristocratic class then into the whole population. And for example, the samurai used this as a long when they had to go out for long rides and long travels, they often brought mochis with them because they had such a dense and a high nutrients for them that they could use over time. Or even the farmers now, where they eat it when they had a long day or a strong day on the fields, they took mochis with them. Nowadays, mochi is one of the main dishes which are consumed or which are eaten during New Year's Eve as a celebration of the end of the year and the start of the new year. Often also the mochi was also shared or is shared in the celebration of the marriage as kind of the holy and the protector of the sake and beauty of the marriage. So there's a big tradition behind this little thing, and this is actually how it looks like. So what you can see, this is now a mochi which has even whole beans, so you see the rice dough, and we're gonna now cut it to see what does it look inside. So let's cut this. So you can see the sticky rice is quite a soft rice paste. And here we have a typical example of an azuki bean, so a black bean which is inside. So this is actually a typical way how the mochi looks like. And it is quite a sweet pastry or a sweet thing to eat. And now I want to see a little bit how actually this sweet affects also my palate when I drink a green tea. And for this I brought a little bit of a dry green tea with me, a little bit of a slightly more acid green tea, just to have a look and to see how the sweet actually affects my palate and how this changes then the perception of the tea. So I just gonna take my kyusu, which I brought with me, and I'm just gonna take 5 grams of the tea of Mr. Sada, and then put some water into it. So I take around 150 milliliters of water, and then I got just gonna wait for 1 minute. Often when you're in Japan also is when you are traveling, in every gas station or every 7-Eleven shop you will find mochis everywhere. So it's a very widespread sweet which you can eat in very different areas. There are even some shops which are very dedicated or purely dedicated. When we were visiting Mr. Sakamoto in springtime, so in Sakura season, we could even eat a mochi where you had a sakura leaf around the mochi, and this was a very beautiful experience. In terms of how the dough is made, so in terms of how this dough is prepared, it's an accord of two people who are in a rhythm, and one is pounding the rice dough and the other one is just shoveling and turning in a bowl the rice dough, and then the other one is just in a certain rhythm just pounding the rice. So this is a very special and still very handcrafted traditional method. Nowadays there's certainly also the industrial ways which are a little bit less romantic, but let's leave it up to here and let's stay with the traditional way, and I'll just gonna taste now my tea. So in the beginning now I will taste it without the mochi, just to have a perception of how the tea is. Then I can describe it to you, and then how the tea actually is, or the perception in my palate is changed with the sweet. So first tasting. So this is a rather dry tea, as I said before. It's kind of there's a little bit of sweet corn, a little bit of sweetness, have nearly like a little bit of sweet rice. So it's very cereally, tingling, a lot of minerals in the tea. I have this dry mouthfeel now coming out, so there's a lot of tannins also in this tea. So it's rather on the dry side, a little bit on the tingling, so a little bit on slightly citrusy side as well. But there's also a little sweet or a little hint of sweetness, a cereally sweetness, reminding me a little bit of milk rice when you eat it. So it's a little bit in this direction. And there's a slight hint of astringency, so a little bit this citrusy note is definitely present. And now let's have a bite of the mochi. So we're gonna just take this and eat one part of it. It's very good. So you get the sweet rice, or the rice dough, which is kind of sweet and smooth and a little bit chewy as well. And then you got the tsuki beans, which have by themselves quite a sweet note, but it's not over sweet. It's not like a sweet, very strong pastry. It's a nice light sweetness mixed of this rice dough, of the chewy rice dough with the natural sweetness of the tsuki beans. Very beautiful in terms of taste, and it's, as I said, not too strong, and this is what makes the mochi in general very a big pleasure also to be drunk then with the tea. Oh. So now I have a nice, very nice sweet mouthfeel, not overwhelmingly sweet, so still pretty nice, not too sugary. and it directly smoothens the tea. And this is the nice thing. This also happens when you're using a date, or when you're using something else, a small cookie, something with your tea. It just smoothens the tea, especially when you have here. I made a little bit of a contrast due to the fact that I took a tea which is a little bit more on the acid side, so to really have this experience, and have much less this drier mouthfeel as well. And it really smoothens out the tea. So it's kind of a giving a little bit, or adding a little bit of sugar to the tea without adding anything in the tea, but just having this nice sweet mouthfeel to experience the tea. And this is something I personally, or I learned also in Japan, that you really don't need to sweeten the tea, but you can eat something sweet with the tea, and this finally makes a very pleasurable and great experience of the tea, or the tea session itself. So this is something I highly recommend you. I will have now a second glass of this one, and then enjoy my second part of the mochi. So I was happy to have you. Thanks a lot for watching, and if you have ever any question, don't hesitate to ask them. Take care. See you. Bye bye.